Have you ever had a moment that completely shattered your worldview? A single event that made you question everything you thought you knew? For one seasoned hunter, a routine trip into the deep woods of the Pacific Northwest turned into a life-altering encounter that would forever change his relationship with the wilderness and the creatures that might inhabit it. This is the story of the hunter who couldn't shoot. Our story begins with a man we'll call Dale. For over 30 years, Dale had been an avid outdoorsman. He knew the forests like the back of his hand. He could track a deer for miles, read the subtle signs of the wild, and was a respected marksman in his community. Hunting wasn't just a hobby for him. It was a tradition, a connection to his ancestors and to nature itself. He had always dreamed of the ultimate prize, the one legendary creature that hunters whisper about around campfires, Bigfoot. But for Dale, it was more of a running joke, a folktale to spook the rookies. He never truly believed. One crisp autumn morning, Dale set out before dawn. The air was cold, and a thick fog clung to the ancient trees, muffling all sound. It was the kind of day that felt primal, untouched. He was tracking an elk, following a fresh set of prints deeper and deeper into a part of the forest he rarely ventured into. The silence was unnerving. The usual chatter of birds and squirrels was gone. The woods were completely still, holding their breath. It was a silence Dale had never experienced before, and a strange sense of being watched prickled the back of his neck. He dismissed it as his imagination focusing on the tracks. But the feeling grew stronger. He wasn't just tracking an elk anymore. He felt like he was being tracked himself. He stopped, scanning the dense tree line, his rifle held at the ready. Nothing, just shadows and fog. He continued on, his senses on high alert. That's when he heard it. A sound that didn't belong. It wasn't an animal he recognized. It was a low, guttural vocalization, a series of clicks and whistles that seemed almost conversational. It came from somewhere up ahead, hidden by the thick underbrush. Curiosity overpowering his unease, Dale moved forward slowly, his boots making no sound on the damp earth. The vocalizations grew louder, more distinct. He peeked through a thicket of ferns and his heart stopped. There, in a small clearing, was a sight he could barely comprehend. It wasn't one creature, but two. An adult, massive and covered in dark, matted hair, stood nearly 8 feet tall. Its sheer size was breathtaking. But what truly froze Dale in his tracks was the smaller one beside it. A juvenile, perhaps half the size of the adult, was mimicking its movements, learning. They weren't monstrous, they were simply there. The adult was stripping bark from a fallen log, and the younger one was watching intently, occasionally reaching out a small hand to touch the wood. There was an undeniable intelligence in their eyes, a sense of awareness that Dale had only ever seen in one other species, humans. They were a family, a parent teaching its child. This wasn't a monster from a horror story. It was a living, breathing being, sharing a quiet moment in its home. Dale slowly raised his rifle. This was it, the moment every hunter dreams of. The proof, the legend. His finger rested on the trigger. His scope was locked on the large adult's chest. Decades of training, of instinct, screamed at him to take the shot. It would be the story of a lifetime. He would be famous. He would have undeniable proof that Bigfoot was real. His mind raced. His heart pounded against his ribs. But he couldn't do it. As he looked through the scope, he saw more than just a target. He saw the interaction between the parent and the child. He saw the gentle way the adult guided the little one's hand. He saw the flicker of curiosity in the young one's eyes. In that moment, he didn't see a beast or a monster or a trophy. He saw a family. He saw a father and his son, and he saw himself. He thought of his own kids, of teaching them how to fish, how to build a campfire. How could he destroy a moment so familiar, so human? A twig snapped under his boot. The adult's head whipped around, its dark eyes locking directly onto his. There was no aggression, no threat. Just a look of profound intelligence, and Dale swore a hint of sadness. It was a look that seemed to understand everything: the rifle, the man behind it, the choice he was about to make. The creature slowly placed a hand on the smaller one's shoulder, gently guiding it behind its massive frame. It held his gaze for another long second, a silent communication passing between them. Then, with a speed that defied its size, it turned and melted back into the forest, the juvenile following close behind. Within seconds, they were gone, leaving only silence and a man whose entire world had just been turned upside down. Dale lowered his rifle, his hands shaking. He sank to his knees, the weight of what just happened crushing him. He hadn't pulled the trigger. The hunter, the marksman, the man who had always prided himself on his skill and decisiveness, had hesitated. But it wasn't hesitation born of fear. It was hesitation born of empathy. He realized that pulling that trigger would have been the most monstrous act in that forest. He had come face to face with the legend, and instead of killing it, he had connected with it. Dale never hunted again. He sold his rifles and packed away his gear. He couldn't bring himself to take a life after what he had witnessed. How could he, after looking into the eyes of a creature that showed more humanity than many people he knew? His encounter didn't make him a celebrity. In fact, he kept the story to himself for years, knowing no one would believe him. He didn't have a photo, no physical proof, nothing but a memory that was burned into his soul. His life was forever changed. He became a protector of the wilderness, not a conqueror. He started advocating for conservation, spending his weekends hiking and simply observing, not hunting. He found a new kind of connection to nature, one based on respect and reverence, not dominance. He understood that the greatest mysteries of the world aren't meant to be captured or mounted on a wall. They're meant to be respected, to be left alone, to remind us that we don't know everything, and that there are still corners of this world that hold profound and beautiful secrets. Dale's story is a powerful reminder. It challenges us to think about our place in the natural world. Are we its masters, or are we just one small part of a much larger, more complex tapestry? What would you do if you were in Dale's shoes? Could you pull the trigger? Or would you, like the hunter who couldn't shoot, choose empathy over glory? The forest keeps its secrets well, and perhaps it's for the best that some legends remain just that, legends. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the unknown. Let us know in the comments what you think about Dale's decision. We'll see you in the next video.